Bonjour, everybody. Hi, this is Neshi Lilkatz. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page here on Facebook. This live stream is all about a card draw that I do every morning and share with others. It started out me just doing the card draw, which I've done for a really, really long time. I just started sharing it on Instagram this past fall, just a sentence or two, as a quote. And then I thought maybe, the community here for Star Nations on Facebook would be interested in that card draw. And so that's why I started doing this last month in May. And I think we've only missed like 2 days out of almost 60. So yay. Yay, yay, yay. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, Elise. She just joined. And Mary Ann, her sister, is with us too, I would imagine. Mary Ann hasn't missed one day practically with me either, which I find really, I like that a lot. And one of these days, I'm going to meet those sisters, Mary Ann and Elise. So I'm hoping you're doing well this morning. Here in Toma, Wisconsin, it's rainy. It has been raining since yesterday afternoon. Good morning, Mary. Since yesterday afternoon. We've had some thunderstorms, but pretty much a steady rain, and it's still raining. It's kind of gentle though, and I have one window open so I can kind of hear the rain. And it's not too cool. It's about 62 degrees. It's cold enough for a long sleeve shirt. But you know what? I'm not going to complain because, 6 months from now, we could, here in Wisconsin, gets pretty cold. We could have 30 degrees below zero with the wind chill factor. And so I'm not complaining one little bit. Not me. Mary Ann. Well, Mary Ann. Did I say Mary Beth? I meant Mary Ann. Sorry about that. I almost said Mary Jo, and I knew that wasn't right. Mary Ann is here with Mary S. Thank you, Mary, for letting me know that. I appreciate that. Did everybody bring their beverage? I'm still using the Rocky Mountain. I like the color of this one. If I could get Star Nation's logo on a Yeti one, I would really be happy. I need to make time to do the research on that and all of that, but I would really like that. Good morning, Jill. Hello. Drinking my tea. It was one of those mornings, coffee, tea, coffee. I chose tea. Actually, Paul chose it for me. I was upstairs getting ready for the day, and he was boiling the water for my morning. He thought I was going to have morning tea. Well, okay, I can do that. So today is Tuesday, June 19th, and we are just getting started with the July issue of Star Nations magazine. I know we just published last week, but this is the way it rolls. Usually what happens is that things start coming in even before the 10th of each month for the following month issue. And so we're gearing up. We're getting all kinds of preparations in place, and the contributing writers all have their list of topics that they're choosing from. And tonight or tomorrow, I'll send them out an email reminding them to have their rough draft to their personal editor and their title to me, so we can start working on the cover. And it's it's an exciting time. Good morning, Elise. She says, "Hello, dear one." Hello back, right at you, Elise. So I'm up here at the Academy. I started doing live streams up here about 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. And I enjoy it. I do. My house is usually pretty quiet and peaceful, usually, but there are days where it feels like it's Grand Central Station. And it's those days that I wish I had someplace else to do the live streams from and the shows from. And my husband says, we can make that happen. We can just move your studio up to the school. And I'm going, why not? And so we did. So today's card draw. Today's card draw. I actually got a couple, but this is the main one, and we've had this one before. The Peyote Ceremony, New Abilities. That's a water bird, and the peyote comes from the cactus nopales in Spanish, and they use the flower bud for the medicine that comes from the cactus that's used to journey to other dimensions, right? And so, and if you notice the colors on this, the colors are of the medicine wheel that Jamie Sams incorporates in all of the cards. And so I like that artwork too. And since we've had this card before, I had to ask my spiritual team, what is it about this card that's important for us today? Elise, let's see. I can talk tomorrow anytime. Early is best. Oh, okay. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah, I think I can do that. I have to think about that a little bit. Yeah, I think so. I'll PM you a time, okay? When I can get a hold of you. Early is best. All right. So when I was asking my team about this card and why we needed to have this information, the essence of this card today, right? And it's about the new abilities and using your gifts. Jamie Sams tells a story about the peyote medicine. It comes in modern day. It comes through the Native American church, and the medicine from the nopales, the cactus, actually comes from Mexico, northern Mexico, and the Yaqui Nation, which is I am a part of that descendancy. My dad was Yaqui, and Jamie Sams tells a story about how the Apache had come to a Yaqui medicine man. They had been through quite the ordeal with the U.S. government, and they felt like their people were broken, and they were in search of help. And they were the last thing that they felt that was of value to them that had not been taken with their spirit, their soul, and that they thought that the government wouldn't be happy until they broke the Apache completely. Because you have to remember, there's some stories about Geronimo and the resistance, and so they went and found this medicine man, and the medicine man shared with them, man, it's just really pouring out now. I'm glad I got up here when I did. This medicine man shared with them, it's called a muscalito, and it's the parent plant, the parent cactus that is kind of like the guardian of all the cactus. And it's actually a very sacred place for the people who practice or who believe in that older tradition coming out of Mexico. It's not a Christian-based religion, and it's an earth-based religion. And so anyway, this medicine man shared with them the medicine of the muscalito, the nopales medicine, and he was able to teach them how to use the flower bud to make the medicine, and that medicine it's a drug, but used in small quantities, you can actually slip into what Jimmy Sams calls the crack in the universe. In other words, you can travel from dimension to dimension, right? And so this medicine man, this holy man, taught the Apache about it. and then went with them back to their home and helped the people understand what that medicine was about. And from that medicine, from that time that it was given, that was like in the early 1800s, was given to the Apache. Eventually, as time moved forward, that medicine, that peyote medicine, was then moved north to the northern tribes. And because east of the Mississippi, we don't have cactus, so obviously we would never know anything about that. That was their medicine in the Southwest, okay? And so anyway, they brought that religion up through North America, up through what's now the United States. And that's how it became a Christian religion, because it was turned into a church, and it's called the Native American Church. And so I had to ask my team this morning, what is it about this card and that story that's important for us to use today in modern time, now? And this is what I was shown, is that it is the new abilities that we're looking at. We're looking at something that is ancient, like the peyote button or bud, and how those ancient ones in the Yaqui Nation used this medicine, and they showed it to someone else for a more modern way, and that was to survive spiritually. And so the Apache found a way that they knew that their spirit was immortal, that it couldn't be taken from them. And so it gave them hope. It gave them a new way of seeing the world. And so that is what we get to use today. In today's, in the time called now, right, is the new abilities. Using ancient information, ancient ways of being in modern time gives us new hope. New hope. And it isn't necessarily specifically about the use of the peyote, because that's kind of controversial and all of that. It's the essence. It's the underlying essence of it. And how do we bring that into today? Why is it important? And as I was asking those questions, these other two cards popped out of the deck. The Standing People and Heyoka. If you remember, Heyoka is, or Standing People, is about being rooted, being connected to the earth. It's a way of communicating to each other through the roots, and that's the ancestors. And how the trees give, constantly giving to us, from our oxygen to our homes, to shade, to food, they are giving. But they're also rooted into Grandmother Earth, and it makes them stable and strong. Okay? And so when we take that information coming from the ancestors, such as the peyote, in its essence, coming from the ancestors and seeing it in a new way, using it in a new way, in its integrity. Yeah? Okay. And then I get this card, the Heyoka. It's about opposites, about humor. Heyoka medicine is nothing to tease. is not funny. They use humor, but the Heyoka medicine is very, very old. It's as ancient as the use as the nopales in the Southwest. The nopales, the cactus, the ancient medicine that comes from that is just as ancient as the Heyoka medicine. The ancestors have been using both of these for generations after generations after generations for thousands of years. But we get to see this maybe in a new way to use it today in its integrity. Because we all have it. We all have it. We don't remember it. Some of us don't remember. It is about our memories to those, if you believe in past lives or parallel lives, our soul remembers all of this already. It's in our hearts. And that's when our soul leads us, is that when we can actually tap into that memory. And because we come from certain lineages, it doesn't matter if your lineage starts here on Turtle Island or not, or another continent, you still have it in your bones and in your blood. And so it's that ancient medicine that we get to remember and use today in a new way in its integrity. Elise, I like the Native American way. Hey, Jocelyn's in the house. Good morning, Jocelyn. Thank you for joining us. And Elise is saying, maybe why this learning experience is happening with me. It's very, very possible. It's very possible. And I wouldn't share this with you if I hadn't experienced it myself. Okay. On a couple of different occasions. I do know in my heart of hearts that our soul really does know. And if we do our work, if we do our healing on our emotional and physical, mental traumas, and we can get to past those layers and to be able to remember, our spiritual teams are working really hard with us. They are here for us, to help us to remember, to help us experience this earth life with as many as our gifts as possible. And our responsibility in that is to heal those aspects of us enough to remember, to tap into it. Yeah, Elise is saying, tired of doctors and their prescriptions. I've stopped mine completely, at least for now. My injections were $5,000 a month. Holy smokes. That's a lot. That's a lot. There's so much in that to learn from, Elise. You've been working with Polly Jo, haven't you? Have you connected with her yet? Because her and a couple other people in Star Nations, they do that medical intuitive stuff, and that might be something you might want to check into. Only 4 shots. Jeez, that's a lot of money for 4 shots. So when I got this card, the Heyoka card, I had to ask my team, what is this about these 3 cards for today in this time right now? Why these 3? Why these 3? And actually, in last night's show, both Paul Krauss and his show, Paul Krauss Show, and the Tarot Journey, they kind of touched on this a bit too. It really is about what we're seeing happening in the world, how we're witnessing it, how we're reacting to it. Some of us are very emotional about it, both sad and tears, frustrated. Some of us are angry. Some of us it comes from a place of fear. And what I'm talking about are how children are being treated, how Grandmother Earth is being treated. We've been seeing it through, for years, and for how grandmother Earth has been treated, in the last couple of years, and how the people who are standing up for her and saying no more, no, you can't do that to her, and trying to protect her, and how they're being treated, how they're being forced to go through the judicial system and then being arrested for protesting. Yeah, this is the United States. This is the world that ancestors coming from Europe was trying to get away from. How many hundreds of years ago? It was 500 years ago. $200 years ago. Hey, Carol Lorene's in the house. Hello. Good to have you here, Carol. She says, I hope we see our pets. I lost my little dog yesterday. Aw. Oh, I know. She says, I feel like a part of me left too. I know. When our furry girl, Ginger, she had cancer. When she left, it was, the grief. And I did this one differently than when our previous girl, Sugar, when she left. That one took me to my knees. I was in counseling over that one. But with Ginger, I did it a little bit differently. When the grief was so strong and brought me to tears and sobbing tears, I sobbed. I remember sitting on the stairwell, going from the upstairs downstairs, and there was this huge wave of us that came through me, and I literally sat on the stairs. I don't know, it had to have been for a good 20 minutes just crying. And so when they leave, when their physicalness leaves us, boy, we miss that physical touch, don't we? We miss their physicality, and how much they were in our lives. Everything, every room, the car rides, our whole lives were practically planned around Ginger. If we were going to go someplace, is Ginger coming with us? If Ginger's not coming with us, then she was never boarded. And so who's going to come and stay with Ginger? And so, so she, everywhere. And it took literally a couple of years, because she's been gone now. She'll be 5 years in November. Cleaning up dog hair, I remember we had to get a different refrigerator, and we moved the refrigerator out, and dog hair, behind it and underneath it, thinking I had cleaned everything, but never pulled the refrigerator out after she had left. And so they're everywhere. I didn't know what it was like, Carol, to go someplace and not have Ginger hair on me somewhere. She literally went with me everywhere. And so I hugs to you, and knowing how difficult that it is. So, all we can do is send you love. You'll eventually get through it. You know what they say when we lose a loved one is that we just learn how to deal with it better. It never really goes away. We just learn how to deal with it better. And so hugs to you, Carol, hugs to you. And Elise says, no, she hasn't contacted Polly Joe yet. You might want to. Good morning, Mato. I'm so glad you're with us. Good to see you in the house. And Jill says, I lost my guy last night, too. I was hoping to see what these cards might be on. Aw. Oh, my gosh. I'm so sorry to hear that, Jill. So hard. Oh, my God. And Jocelyn, they're a part of Four Souls even after they're gone. I still, yes. And, their spirit will always be with you. I remember after our first dog, Sugar, when she crossed, there was a morning, I can't remember, it was, early morning. I had Paul had gotten up and gone to work, and I could see her, I could feel her when she jumped up on the bed. I could feel her weight on the mattress. It was her spirit, and because she was all kind of shimmery and stuff, she just wanted to tell me that she was still there. And I know Ginger is still here. We can still feel her. Some people who come here, who can see, right, see her. They say, "Do you have a dog?" Not in the physical sense, but Ginger's still here. They're not that far from us. And I know that when we're ready and when Ginger's ready, or the soul that we call Ginger, the spirit that we call Ginger, because Ginger was sugar, right? And so when that spirit is ready to come back, when we're ready, we'll be together again. And we just, the timing piece. So, and Jocelyn says that she can still feel Sheba's presence. Absolutely. Stephanie, strong message today. Woke up late and pulled right on to watch today's message, and Peyote moved right to Heyoka. Very powerful. Yes, absolutely it is. Hi, Madonna. Madonna's in the house. Oh, I'm so glad to see you, Madonna. She says, hi, Neshi. Yes, I lost my dog about 3 years ago. One of the deepest earth-shattering griefs. Yes, absolutely. Thanks for talking about this. I can so relate. My Cinder had long black hair. I found fur balls everywhere too. I know. You think you cleaned it all up and you move something out and there it is. And then you have to go through all of those feelings all over again. Jocelyn, it is very hard for me to walk in the woods without her. I know. You know what was hard for me was coming into the house. If I was gone and coming into the house because she wasn't there to greet me. Yeah. I went when Sugar left, I wanted to sell the house. Paul didn't want, that was a no, but I was so hard just to walk into the house. Jill is saying, my cat was with me 20 years. Oh my gosh. 95 in human years. So I've been elder caring for years too. Do the cards relate, do you think? Or is this too personal? It might be too personal, Jill, because Stephanie asked for a card yesterday too, and I wish I could have related somehow to that. But when I ask for the card, the energy for the day, it really is for it's for the royal we, it's how is this energy, how are we going to experience it unfolding today? And yeah, so it's a bit more personal. Tomorrow night when Polly Joe, when she's doing her show, those are much more personal. So if you're available tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, after she does the meditation, the healing, she'll pull cards, and that would be a really good time. A good time for that. Yeah. Stephanie, Heyoka medicine, loss and grief. Well, Heyoka medicine on the surface is about learning from the opposites. So they're contrary. So learning joy from grief, learning about life from death. So it's the opposite. And I suppose you could read into that, about that. This particular card was, I didn't quite get into it, but we will. I just want to make sure I get through the messages here, the comments. My roommate, Mary Beth, sees one of my spirit guides, Willow Eyes, walking my dearest dog, best friend, in the trees out back. Wish I could. Well, you can't physically feel them, like they're in the physical form, but you can still go on walks with them. It's like there's some nights when Paul was working third shift, and I'd be heading up to bed. I'd still tell Junior, "Okay, girl, let's go to bed. Time to go to sleep." And knowing that she's in spirit, and still going up to bed, we can't do it. We can't feel them in the physical form, but they're still right here with us. Yeah. Elise says, I'm not able to see spirit. Well, a lot of people can't. A lot of people are not clairvoyant. A lot of that is Hollywood stuff, that we always, there's this driving need that we have to be clairvoyant to be able to see, but we bring in information all the time, all the time. You may not see with your physical eyes that you could hear them, you could feel them. There's an olfactory, the sense, a lot of people in my family spell Old Spice when my dad is around. And my mom, she smells citrus when my grandfather, my Misho, is around. So thank you, Nish. You're so welcome, Carol. I'm so glad it was helpful to you. It's not an easy thing to get through, but you will get through it. It's not easy, though. Just feel the feelings. Allow them to be felt. And then they move through you. They don't take up residence as much when you allow the feelings to come to you and smell and feel them. Yeah. Jocelyn says, smells them in the shadows of them. Yeah. And sometimes what you do is you sense something on your periphery, right? And when you turn to look, there's nothing there, of course. When my dad, just before he crossed over, I was at lunch with a friend of mine, client, and it was like days before. And maybe it was maybe a week or something like that. And we're sitting in the restaurant, and on my periphery, I kept seeing this movement, it's and I'd look and there'd be nothing there. And eventually what I could see was my dad standing there waving at me, and so I knew that our time together was close to end. And in the physical sense anyway. So he was doing his traveling, is what we call it in my family, the preparing to leave. We believe that in the time that they're preparing to make that transition is that they travel to the different places that they've been visiting people that they know, basically, letting go of the physical world. And so he just came to say, hey, I can smile and laugh about it then, but in that moment, it was like, I just saw my dad. And my friend is going, you got to be kidding me. I said, no, I didn't. I think I better call the nursing home, the veterans nursing home, and see what's going on. So they're with us all the time. They're right next to us. Right next to us. Okay. So I'm going to get back to this card because I think this is kind of a telling card for us today to help explain this one. And I started to say that in last night's shows, both Paul Krauss and Julie Hedges touched on this. Paul was talking about the craziness, staying sane in such a crazy seeming world, right? And how to navigate that. And Julie with the meta prayers. And I wish I would have been there for the one that she said for the children, for those children who are being held in cages. I was with my mom where she was getting, she's doing the last bedtime stuff, but I had the laptop and I had the show playing. And I could hear Julie's voice when she was saying the prayer and talking about these children. And I could hear it in her voice, the tears, the emotion behind it. And the prayer that she was saying was pretty intense. I could feel it. And when I came out, that there was a shift in the energy in the show. And that's what meta prayer can do, really. It can shift the energy. And so this morning when I got these cards, the information I got from my team, my spiritual team, is this is about the energy that's flowing today around that topic, around that experience that that the whole world is watching. It's not happening in a vacuum. It's not. And what we're seeing is something that strikes fear in a lot of parents' hearts. The imagining if that would have been their child being separated from them. It, for a parent to go through something like that is horrendous. For the child, it's 10 times that. And so here we are bearing witness to it, right? And that's what I meant about there's a lot of people who are feeling very strong emotions around this, whether it is anger, which is linked to fear, or it is the emotional aspect of, which also is linked to fear, is the crying and being so sad and scared for these kids. We don't know them. Many of us have never met them, and yet we feel so connected to what's going on with them. In the same way when doing the water protection and the land protection, trying to protect Grandmother Earth and the things that happened and still happening to water protectors, land protectors, sacred site protectors. And so here we are witnessing it. And yesterday I said, I believe in prayer. I always have. Seen too many things happen that was because of a prayer. And so I have a very strong faith about that. Some people call them miracles. So I really do believe in prayer. But I also believe that we're here in a physical body, having a physical experience. And in order to ground an energy to the earth plane, we have to have action behind it. Even in the smallest way, helps us to ground it. And so today, given the information that we have with the Peyote Ceremony, this was taken a very ancient belief and use of a plant that was given to the people by Grandmother Earth, by the Creator, that was passed down for generations, for thousands of years. Ancient information, showing us a new ability. How do we use our gifts? And then we're given the Heyoka card. And I think what we're seeing with these children is it is so deplorable that it's so shocking that you want to go in the opposite direction. How do we do this differently? This is not who we are as humanity, and how can we allow that to occur? And so it's showing us the complete opposite. And another ancient way of being, Heyoka, that's been here on Earth for thousands of years. Every indigenous nation on Turtle Island has some form of what's called Heyoka contraries. Ancient information. And then we get to the standing trees. And how do we ground our abilities in this change in a new ability that our ancient ones, our ancestors, are showing us? How do we make a better world for our children? How to be grounded when we're thinking about it, when we're feeling about it. How do you be centered and grounded when it is something that you just want to cry about and rail against, and so how do you stay grounded and still be able to pray for them? And if you're so moved, to contact somebody, to contact your elected official, to contact the U.S. Embassy, to contact the UN, and say this is a crime against humanity. It depends on what your soul is leading you to do, and sometimes it's just a tiny, tiny step, a baby step, putting action behind your prayer. That little action, if we all did that, that would be one big action. One big one. Oh my gosh. All right, Elise, she and I ran several miles each day. Oh, talking about your dog. I would come home to a dog with a leash in her mouth. I know. I did. Us too. And Elise says, I think you help all of us each day, each in our own way. Yes, that is so true. That is so true. That's why I've been enjoying our mornings together, because it's just not me, yapping here, but you guys having your comments and having a conversation, and to be here for each other, right? And cheering each other on, and also to send love and to hugs for somebody who's going through something, a rough time. Yeah. Thank you from all of us. Oh, you're welcome. Hey, Pam. Pam Nelson's in the house too. Hi, Pam. And Mato is saying, for many, the issue with the children brings up a historical pain that is deep within many of us. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely true, Mato. Because when Paul and I were talking about this, I said, yes, it brings up, because he was saying, doesn't this remind you of the mission schools when they first started sending Native children to Christian church schools, the mission schools, and being forced from their families, right? I said, yeah, it does. It really does. But it also reminds me of how our government treated the Japanese Americans and put them in concentration camps during World War II. It also reminds me of how, of course, during Hitler's reign, what he did to the Jewish people and the Jewish children. It also reminds me of how the Polish were treated, how the Ukrainians, the Romanians. I said, this isn't an isolated situation. What makes this so deplorable today is because we live in a time when information is brought to us immediately. Something could happen across the world, and we hear about it in the next 20 minutes, the next 5 minutes. And so hearing about how these children, and it's not something that just started. This has been happening for quite a while. We first started hearing about it when we heard there was 1,500 kids missing. It's like, what do you mean missing? How can you misplace 1,500 children? And it's not any different than Native children, female children, usually, although there are some males that go missing every year between Canada and the United States. It's how we treat each other. And these children are bringing it to a crescendo worldwide. Yep. Pam Nelson, hi. So good to see you on this morning topic. Yeah. I'm so glad you're in the house. Pam and I studied together. One of our teachers, Drunvalo Melchizedek, and we met in Mexico. She from Alaska and me from Wisconsin, right? Amato saying, I've been working on staying present in the now, so I'm not so paralyzed and fearing no pain. Exactly. But you know what? With these cards, what this is teaching me today is that we have really ancient ways that we can bring into the now with our prayers, with our ceremonies. And one of the things that came to me this morning was that I thought, well, okay, I'm still on travel restrictions. It's not like I can head down to Texas. I would like to. Is when we do our prayers, and I was taught this a long, long time ago, and that is sometimes we have to call on the highest vibrational being, the highest vibrational angels of protection, and ask them, send them, the Creator, ask the Creator to send a team of these highest vibrational protecting angels and send them to the children. Get them protected. Get them some energetic protection, right? Yeah. And then we turn to those who are in decision-making positions. We pray that and asking the Creator to show them a better way in our prayers. But what about the action part? What about the action part? And the tobacco giving that Mom and I did yesterday, and I wish I had more faith in our elected officials, but I don't. But it's a place to start, right? It's a place to start. I used to have faith in the UN. I don't have that much faith in them either. I watched what they did at Standing Rock. People talk a lot, but there's very little action behind their words. So I think it really is up to the people. It always has been. Motto, okay, she's saying related to what the government has done to so many people in the past. I know, that historical trauma, that's what I was talking about. And many times it is our action has more to do with what we do personally. So in healing that historical trauma, there's lots of different ways to heal it. But if we don't take the steps in healing it, rather than staying in the pain and staying in the past, is to look for a way to get it healed and to release and to replace, because you create a void, replace that with a higher vibration. Love, peace, joy. It breaks that cycle. Because when we heal our stuff, we heal for our ancestors 7 generations back, and we heal for our descendants 7 generations forward. So it's not a small thing that we do in our own personal healing. It has a huge ripple effect. And it makes me wonder, if we all did our own healing piece, what would we be seeing today? What would we be seeing today when it comes to these children? Would they even have this problem? Maybe it'd be unfolding differently, though. Because I see it as our responsibility in that healing. I do. And there's so many different ways to do it. There's so many different paths to heal that historical trauma. And those of us here on Turtle Island that carry even just, maybe you had a great grandmother or grandfather who was Native. You still have that DNA running through you. You could be blonde-haired and blue-eyed, but you still have that DNA. You still have their memories, their existence in your bones and in your blood. And so you could still be healing that aspect of that historical trauma. You might feel like you're kind of removed from it because you don't look Native, but it's still there. It's still there. It's the same way with African blood. Healing from the slave situation, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. And just because you're blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and you don't look African doesn't mean that you're not carrying some of that DNA in your bones and in your blood. And so you have that memory. You have that memory. And so that's why I mean that it's our own responsibility to find the healing method that fits you the best, and to do your work, to do your own healing work. Yeah. Hey, Jana. Jana joined us. Jill says, thanks. That helps sending highest vibrational energy to the kids and still grounding by creating some action. Yes. Yes. In order to have the change grounded to the earth plane, that's our responsibility as the two-leggeds, to ground that to the earth plane. And we only can do that through action. Through action. Prayer is great. I believe in it 100%. But to bring it to the earth plane, that's our responsibility. Even if it's the tiniest little action, it is helping to ground it to the earth plane. So, hey, Cheryl. Hello. Good morning. So anyway, it's about 10 to 11, and we got another show coming up right behind this one. This isn't really a show. I haven't called it that. Elise calls it the non-show because I haven't even found a name for it. I just say today's card drop. But this is the information that came today. And what I say almost every day is whatever we shared, the information that you heard, if you just take whatever it is that resonated with you, that felt good to you, that said, that feels right, take that. Anything that didn't resonate with you, that just felt like, I don't know about that, it's okay. Let it go. Wasn't meant for you. Maybe we're just planting seeds. I don't know. And so you have, just take what felt good, what resonated. Here, this is the poem that Jeannie Sams wrote about the Peyote Ceremony. She says, when the people's spirit was broken, when the buffalo no longer roamed, when all our lands were taken and no one longer had a home, the water bird's reflection of the universe within showed us new abilities and gave us hope again. Yeah, it's a good one for today, I think. I think so. Oh, with that, I hope you have a really good rest of Tuesday. Join me tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern for Communications from Home. We're going to be talking about the spirit of the drum. We haven't talked about that in a while. So if you feel so inclined and you are connected with the drum, please join me, 8 p.m. Eastern, and enjoy the rest of your day. And maybe we'll see you in the chat room for Polly Joe's show, because that's where I'll be right after this. Okay, just in time to go take a potty break and get the rest of my tea. All right, we'll see you soon. Bam Mina. Until we see each other again, tomorrow's card draw.